Hello and welcome to A Little Crafting. My name is Annie and this is my YouTube podcast where I talk about all the things that I have been making. I am recording from Surrey in the southeast of England, and I'm glad to say the sun is out and we've got spring here starting to appear in the UK. Today is Sunday the 9th of March. If you're new and you like to find me on social media, I am a_little_crafting on Instagram and Ankiwoo on Ravelry. And I'll start off by talking about what I am wearing. So this is the November vest by Petite Knit. I've knit it out of Hedgehog Fibres Tweedy, so you can see it's got lovely, it's kind of a grey base with little pops of colour, which is their recycled yarn, which is really nice. I absolutely loved the yarn. This is knit in brioche with a double knit button band and also double knit I guess shoulder cuffs, sleeve edges, whatever you want to call them, although it's a vest so it's got no sleeves. It has pockets that are really lovely and big, if I hold them up a bit there. And yeah, I do love wearing this in the spring. It's a really great piece. Because it's brioche, it did take me a really long time to knit, but I do actually quite enjoy knitting brioche. I just needed to have a break after this. I think I started it in November 2022 and finished it in July 2023, so you can see that it took me a good few months to knit it. But yeah, it's a really lovely piece. I would knit another one of these at some point, but maybe in a couple of years time in a different colour. Hedgehog Fibres Tweedy is a nice yarn. I guess the one thing that is a feature but also could make it look a bit more messy is the fact that it's got all these tweedy bits that are random and sort of stick out all over the place. But I think overall it's quite cohesive. And it looks really nice in the brioche stitch too. So yeah, I love the look of this and the way that the increases and decreases work. The way that they are along this edge is really lovely. So really great pattern. Would definitely make this again, maybe in a different yarn. And today I'm wearing it with just a really light linen shirt with the sleeves rolled up. And I think that works quite well for this, and it's perfect for this weather that we've got here. Yeah, you can see the underarm looks really neat and tidy. Yeah, I just love the way that brioche turns out, and this kind of general look is really nice and polished. Yeah, so that's what I'm going to be enjoying wearing during the spring, alongside a couple of other items that I've got. And I'll link to my project page down below on Ravelry. My only finished object this week is my versatile baby vest, which I talked about quite a lot last time. I was almost finished with it, and my baby daughter has now worn it twice, so it's been used already, and this is the finished result. This is a pattern by Sandra and Magalhães. It's in undyed superwash merino sport weight, plus the yellowy orange is the gold colour is my own handspun, dyed by me on a merino fibre. The Moon and Stars motif is from the Doodle Knit Directory by Jamie Lomax, which is a book that I got for Christmas. And yeah, super happy with how this has turned out. I'll pop a picture of my daughter wearing it here with her face covered, just so you can see how it looks actually on a baby rather than just on a Peter Rabbit hanger that I happen to have here. But yeah, this was such a lovely little knit. I will make some more of these. I was actually thinking that this looks a little bit like a cricket vest. I think it's the colours, like the white and the sort of gold. So I might try and do a more feminine design, maybe do some like pink flowers and pink edging, just to see how that looks. and the Doodle Knit Directory has so many options. I've got a couple of other colourwork pattern books as well that I can look through and see if there's something that will fit this this gauge and the bottom here. I could also do a stripy one, but then I'll probably have a lot of ends to weave in if that's the case. But yeah, super quick knit, very, very cute. I'll probably be making more of these in the future because it was so addictive. And I wanted to finish it ASAP so that my daughter can wear it. It fits her quite well. I'd say it's a little bit big. I knit the 0 to 3 month size, but knowing that my gauge would be quite loose because I'm quite a loose knitter, I went for the recommended needle size, which I'd normally go down needle size quite a bit. So I knew that this would be big enough. And I'd say, so she is just about to be 6 months, and I'd say it will probably fit her for a couple more months at least now, because it's quite stretchy. Knitting is generally quite stretchy, which makes it absolutely fantastic for babies. And yeah, it's obviously not got sleeves or anything like that, and it doesn't have to be long or short or whatever, so it will be something that she wears for a while. Something I did find is probably my fault because I dyed the fibre that I spun, but this did bleed quite a bit in the sink when I washed this, so I think the undyed yarn actually picked up a bit of yellow, so is more yellow than it would have been in the skein and in the yarn itself. So I'll bear that in mind. I need to make sure that I rinse out my fibre that I dye in future whenever I happen to be doing that again, and make sure that it's not going to bleed once I've finished the yarn. Yeah, just a lovely little pattern, and like I said, I'll be knitting more of these. I'll have a flick through the Doodle Knit Directory again and see if I can find another like flowery spring pattern that I can use on one of these. And I've got plenty of handspun yarn that I can use, so I'll go through my handspun stash and find something else that I can use for another one of these as well. So yeah, that's my only finished object, my knitting one. So let's move on to works in progress. Now the first one is going to be my Ginny by Andrea Mowry. This is a cardigan pattern, which is kind of quite a long line cardigan with a shawl collar and a tie belt. It was named after her grandmother, I think, that taught her to knit. And this is in Fibre Company Law in the colourway Ambitious. Now, I think actually I've got a lot of natural light in here at the moment, so I'm not turning the extra lights on. I think that's quite a good reflection of the colour. Fibre Company Law is a DK weight yarn. Because I am a very, very loose knitter, I'm having to knit this on 2mm needles, and I'm knitting the size 2. So this pattern has these lovely ridges. Rather than just being a purl ridge, it's actually a kind of knit purl texture, and then you switch it around for the next one. It's got them all the way down the body as well. And it's quite a straightforward knit, but it keeps you engaged because every 6 rows you do have something different to do. So I'm just keeping track of the number of rows and then dividing that by 6 or 12 to see which version I need to do of those 2 options for the alternating rows. Yeah, and last time I recorded, I think I had split for the sleeves and then done a bit more, and realised that I had messed up, as in I'd put the project down mid-row, picked it up and gone in the wrong direction, effectively creating a short row and a hole. so the textured pattern looked very wonky. I'm not sure I would have noticed if it hadn't had this textured pattern on it, because it would have just been stockinette. So I'm pleased that I did notice, but I did have to rip back. So from the underarm, I think I had about 2 inches. But you can see I've made quite a lot of progress. So I did a short video of just me ripping back and talking about that on YouTube Shorts. But then I ripped back to where I needed to, which I think was just under the underarm. And then I've knit quite a chunk since then, because it does just go quite quickly. And whilst I'm on maternity leave, I have been doing some knitting whilst I'm feeding my daughter, because it's quite straightforward for me to do that, and something as simple as this is great. Now that I'm on the body, it's just knitting back and forth until I get to the right length. I don't know how long it needs to be, but obviously I'm not there yet. So if I stand up, see, it's just sort of belly button level at the moment, but I'm thinking I'll probably want it to be as long as this, which is just below my hip. Oh, excuse me, hay fever. That's the trouble with spring. Yeah, so I am quite enjoying knitting this after the initial snafu of messing up that one row and having to rip back. It's actually gone quite quickly, so I'll just keep working on this as much as I can, and hopefully I will have this lovely cardigan done soon. Like with all of Andrea Mowry's patterns, instructions are pretty straightforward and good to follow, so I'm happy with that. So that's the work in progress I think I've made the most progress on. I also cast on something new after the last episode, and I kind of identified that my daughter probably needed some kind of knitted trousers, just because we've got sort of a little jacket that she wears when we go out sometimes, especially now in spring, rather than an all-in-one pram suit, because that's just too hot now. But I'm often worried that if she's only wearing tights or leggings, that her legs might get cold. So I thought I'd knit her some trousers. I'm not sure if she will end up wearing them, but we'll see. So I just grabbed some leftover yarn that I had. I have no idea what this is, but it's probably some kind of superwash DK yarn in grey. Yeah, I think it looks like DK. And I just grabbed this out of my stash. It was already balled up. It didn't have the label on it. And I'm hoping that I have enough left. But I am knitting the Darlingpants. It's actually Elsklingbukse by Rillerundt. I've probably butchered that. But essentially it's just a pair of knitted baby trousers with a lovely kind of plait cable down each side. So I can show you that here. I've just split for the legs, but I need to also sew up the middle section between the legs. So yeah, that's the stitch pattern down the side, the cable. I thought these would be a reasonable size, but I think they might end up a bit big actually. So that's not a problem. Maybe she can wear them in autumn if they're really big. But yeah, I thought she needed them, so I started to knit them, and then now it's lovely weather, it's 17 degrees, so it's not really required at the moment, but let's see if the weather changes. It is the UK, so that might happen. Yeah, so I've got basically the top and the waistband. The front also has this little section here in stockinette, and then I've started the sides, and now I just need to do the two legs. I don't know how much yarn I actually have left, so I'm probably going to weigh this and see how much I've used so far. We'll see. If all fails, I can always maybe do like the ribbing at the bottom of the trouser legs in a different colour, and see how that goes. Or she can have slightly shorter knitted trousers. Again, because the knitting is stretchy, it's also not the end of the world, and I just wanted to use up some yarn that I had rather than winding up some new yarn. So yeah, I will see how that goes and report back on the next episode. I should have finished these by then, because yeah, again, this has not taken very long. I mean, if you think about it, it's like knitting the first part of a double rimmed hat at the moment, and then I've just got 2 legs to knit. It's DK weight yarn, so it's quite yeah, quite quick to do rows, and it's quite a small item. And I'm using my little acorn stitch marker. This is one by Kuro Clay Creations on Etsy. I'm not sure if they're still there, but they probably are. My husband got me these little acorns and a pumpkin and a witch's hat, witch or wizard's hat, a couple of years ago for Christmas. So I'm using that. I am knitting this on 3mm needles. I can't remember what the pattern calls for, but it's probably 4mm, so that makes sense that I've gone down quite a few needle sizes. And yeah, I've actually cut the yarn so that I can start again for doing the legs 2 at a time, because I don't want to have to figure out where the decreases are on one to then knit the other. So I do like to do that for socks as well, when I do knit socks, which is very rare. Okay, so that's that one. I was going to talk about my garter stitch blanket, but I haven't got very far on it. So yeah, I've probably done less than 20 rows more. So I figure I'll just talk about that next time. Hopefully I've made a bit more progress. I do have D&D tonight, but I'm debating whether I work on my Ginny or on the blanket. And I've also got D&D tomorrow night, so maybe I'll do one tonight and one tomorrow night. So we'll see about that. Otherwise, that is all the knitting I have to talk about at the moment, but I have been working on some other things. So I did get to do a bit more spinning, and I've almost finished this Yak Silk hand-dyed braid by Charmaine of Yarntings. So I've just brought one of the sets of singles up. So I showed this a bit last time, and I did talk about the fact that I didn't really like spinning silk, but I have to say that I've got into the rhythm now. So I've done a bit more spinning on it, and it seems to be flowing much better now. I think it does take a bit of getting used to when you change from one fibre to another, especially from a less slippery fibre to a more slippery fibre. But it is going quite smoothly now, and I'm almost done on this spin. I'm kind of taking time occasionally, so for example if my daughter goes for a slightly longer nap, which was funny the other day because she fell asleep. I managed to transfer her to the crib, and then I thought, oh great, I can do some spinning or something, but first I have to hang up the washing, put her clothes away, do some washing up and all of that. And I did like 45 minutes of house stuff, sat down, did some spinning. 10 minutes later she was awake again, and I was like, oh no, I missed my chance. But I did 10 minutes, that's okay. So then I had to go and fetch her and entertain her or feed her or something. But yeah, so I'm not spinning as quickly as I would do if I did not have a small baby to look after, especially now she's getting more interactive and moving around a lot more, at about the 6-month mark, and she seems to have FOMO at the moment, so fear of missing out on anything, so she gets very annoyed if she can't see everything that's going on, and has a lot of grumbles at the moment, so you have to kind of keep changing what we're doing because she gets bored as well, so yeah, quite tiring. But yeah, taking time here and there to do a bit more spinning. Again, I think by next time I'll have finished this spin so I can show you the 2-ply yarn that I get out of it. The other thing that's happening is I am going away for a week next week with husband and baby to my mother-in-law's in Spain. Normally I would expect to be able to get quite a lot of crafting done in the airport and on flights. I'm going to take some with me and see what happens. I think this time I won't get much done, but if I do have the opportunity, for example if my husband's dealing with the baby, I might be able to get some knitting done in transit, but let's see. hopeful that I can get some crafting done. Right, next up I am flying through all of my projects. So I wanted to talk about the embroidery that I have been doing. So this is an embroidery kit by Vikas Space. This one was also a Vikas Space embroidery pattern, and the one that I have been working on is the Peyto Lake kit, and it's this little one here. You can see there's a bit of blank space in the middle here. That's just because I wanted to use up a bit of the thread on this side, but then I actually need to start on this. So I need to do this. I've completed quite a lot, which I think is quite interesting with this. When you start, you sort of do a few sections and then go, it looks a bit odd, but then when you get almost to the end it starts to look really cohesive because it's on printed fabric. I think it looks odd when you've got colours on there that aren't quite the same and a different texture, but then as you fill in the texture it starts to look, yeah, like I said, much more cohesive and much more consistent across the whole piece. And I'm really enjoying this at the moment. This is what I'm doing in the evenings after my daughter's gone to bed most of the time. Just because it's very relaxing. It is a little harder to watch TV and do this than watch TV and knit, but we're trying not to watch so much on TV these days. So yeah, I highly recommend these kits. If I finish this one before we go on holiday, I will be starting my Gemstone Valley one, which I got for Christmas this year, just because I really like having this, and I have been stitching this one on a plane before, so I'm hoping it should be okay to take this time. I've taken embroidery scissors and no one's ever questioned it, so let's see. I'll take the ones that I'm least bothered about having confiscated, and yeah, I think needles are fine. So I will, yeah, let you know how that goes when I get back. And the little zip pouch was actually from one of the original kits that I bought. So it was the Mount Rainer, I think is how it's pronounced, one that I've got somewhere to hang up on the wall. The kits now come slightly differently. I don't think you can get these pouches anymore, but I do really like this pouch. It says creativity is just connecting things, and I have quite a lot of embroidery threads in here from the other kits that I've done, including this one, which wasn't a kit, that was the pattern, and then I bought all of the other bits and actually did quite a large one. So I think that's a 12-inch hoop. But this was the first one that I did, so I'm quite pleased that it came out pretty well actually. Not as neat as some of the other ones I've done, but still pretty good. And then yeah, I have this to add to my collection. I need to find a spot on the wall. I'm thinking this blank space here might end up with all of my Vikas Space mountain embroidery designs on it, which would be really nice. That's embroidery. Last time I mentioned that I wanted to talk about what I'd been getting up to with my Peyto I-cord maker. So this is it. It is an electric or a powered I-cord maker. It's not super fast, but I have had some fun with it. I'll insert a little clip here of how it works and show you. I bought this with my own money because I was quite keen to try it out, and I had a couple of discount codes I think that made it quite reasonable, and yeah, it works pretty well. So I had a bit of fun. I grabbed some random odds and ends of yarn that I had and gave it a go. And what I've done is I've created some I-cords and then I've just added some tags and labelled what they were. So the first one I did was this one, so fingering weight sock yarn, and I only added one weight. But what I found was that this was some sort of mini that I had left over. I think it was a Beehive Yarns one. So what I found is this one's quite, I mean, it's sock yarn, so it's probably merino nylon, but it's very, very floppy. So it doesn't have much structure to it. It kind of stretches quite a bit. It's quite floppy. It's fingering weight, so it's quite loose. So yeah, so that's not really the effect that I was after. My idea is that, one, I want to use wire that I've got to make like names out of I-cord with wire through the centre, and the other thing that I want to do is knit up a load, have a load of I-cord to then knit with 15mm needles into a blanket or a scarf or something. My idea was to do that with fingering weight, but it seems like that's actually quite, it's going to be quite difficult. It doesn't have as much structure. So yeah, so I did that one first. That was my fingering weight attempt. My second attempt was this one here, which is DK weight yarn with 2 weights holding it, and this is much more structured, less loosened, slightly more kind of springy, I would say. So this is, yeah, DK weight, 100% non-superwash merino, I think it was. Got that there. And this, the structure is quite nice, so it's quite thick, and I think that's going to be the best option for the names, the lettering that I want to do. Gonna work. There you go. So yeah, something non-superwash, a bit more rustic, might work a bit better. And then I went awry and I decided to try it with 2 strands. So this is fingering weight and some Suri alpaca, which actually, I thought the 2 strands might be a struggle because the machine might lose a strand occasionally, especially of like really fine lace weight. But it worked quite well. I mean, essentially this is probably a DK weight, so similar to the other one, but it looks quite cool actually. And then I did a bit of pink fluff, or light pink fluff, because that was also pink fluff, that one. And yeah, actually works quite well. And this was another DK one. I think again this is probably some hand dyed non-superwash merino that I had in the blue. And that works quite well too. So yeah, so I'm going to stick to DK and try some more. I've got a whole bag of bits. Oh, the other thing that I did was I'll show you. I've got some sparkly yarn. Some sparkly yarn, some sparkle to add to a strand of yarn. So this is sequin on just a strand of silver, which I was holding double with a fingering weight again, or was it a DK? No, it was a DK, but it was finer than this DK, and that worked okay as well. I think you want to go for the more sturdy yarns, so something that's not very silky and soft and flowy, or drapey, because you want the like for the letters especially, you want the structure. So yeah, so I'm glad I did that little experiment. I did make one letter, but I gave it away as a gift, so that isn't with me now. But I'll see if I've taken a picture, I'll just pop one here. And then yeah, I'm gonna try again another time when I have a bit of time available at the weekends. And I've got a whole load of yarn that I've just put aside here, that I'm thinking I can give it a go with. Yeah, I'll probably take some of the fingering weight ones out. And I got some, this is floral wire. This is aluminium wire, and it's 2mm thick. That seemed to work quite well in terms of pushing it through, because what I'm doing is, rather than just making the I-cord and pushing it through the I-cord afterwards, I'm actually running it through the machine itself. I think 3mm wire may be too thick, but this is quite flexible. So I saw that George Vale, who's actually in Guildford, which is quite close to me, have some different wires. So I might, at some point when I have a chance, go and see what's available. Yeah, so I just thought I'd talk a little bit about that. Otherwise, I am just crafting where I can. I don't know that I'm going to have a lot of time to do crafting over the next few weeks, because we're going away to France in April as well. But I will try and record between my 2 holidays, and hopefully I'll have something to actually talk to you about. Otherwise, everything's going well with my daughter. I can't believe she's going to be 6 months soon. And yeah, I'm pleased to be able to still record these podcasts when my husband is able to look after her for a little bit. So yeah, thanks very much again for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this shorter episode, and have a lovely time doing whatever you're doing crafting. Bye!